On Father's Day morning, my son called at 9:15. I was standing in my kitchen, staring at the empty chair where my wife used to sit, when his name lit up my phone screen. Dad, about today. We're doing something different this year. Jessica's parents are hosting at their place in Carlsbad. It's going to be just immediate family. You understand, right? I stood there, coffee cup halfway to my mouth, processing what he'd just said. Immediate family. As if I wasn't his father. As if the man who raised him, who paid for his college, who held his mother's hand as she died 2 years ago, was somehow outside that circle now. Michael, it's Father's Day. I know, Dad, but Jessica's dad really wants this to be their thing. Small gathering. You get it. I didn't argue. Didn't beg. Didn't remind him that I'd spent the last 2 days preparing his favorite dishes, the same ones his mother used to make. I understand perfectly. After I hung up, I stood in that kitchen for 10 minutes. The pot roast I'd started marinating yesterday sat in the refrigerator, untouched. My phone buzzed again. A text from Richard Hayes, my old college roommate. David, heard through Tom Mitchell, you might be solo today. Come to my place in La Jolla. 15 people, too much food, and I could use someone who remembers when I couldn't balance a checkbook. 2 p.m. No is not an option. Richard Hayes. Last time I'd seen him was at Sarah's funeral. Before that, we'd lost touch for nearly 20 years. I knew he'd done well. Real estate development across Southern California. Tom Mitchell mentioned something about oceanfront properties in Forbes lists, but I'd never paid much attention. I texted back. I wouldn't want to impose. His response came immediately. David, you spent 3 weeks tutoring me through accounting so I wouldn't flunk out. I owe you more than a meal. Get your ass to La Jolla. I went to shower. The bathroom mirror showed a man I barely recognized anymore. 64 years old, grayer than I remembered, shoulders that carried weight I couldn't name. But as I shaved, something shifted. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't preparing to be around family who saw me as an obligation. I was going somewhere I was actually wanted. Before leaving, I did something I'd been avoiding. I pulled out my laptop, logged into my bank account, and started scrolling through 2.5 years of transactions. I'd been keeping track in my head, but seeing it laid out was different. March 2 years ago, right after Sarah died. $2,500. Michael said they needed help with medical bills from Jessica's surgery. I found out 3 weeks later there was no surgery. Jessica posted photos of their new living room furniture on Facebook. July that same year. $8,000. Emergency transmission repair, he said. The car would die without it. I saw him driving that same car a month later. Transmission ran fine, but they'd taken a trip to Hawaii, posted photos every day. December. $6,000. Christmas money for the grandkids, he said. They needed new winter clothes, school supplies. I drove by their house on Christmas Eve to drop off gifts. Saw the 70-inch television through the window. Brand new. On and on. Every 3 or 4 months. Always an emergency. Always urgent. Always necessary. Medical bills, car repairs, roof leak, school tuition. Each time, I believed him. Each time, I transferred the money immediately. Because he was my son. Because after Sarah died, he was all I had left of the family we'd built. I pulled up a spreadsheet, started adding. The total came to $58,460. I sat back, staring at that number. Nearly $60,000 in 30 months. That was $2,000 a month, more than some people's rent. Gone. And in that entire time, Michael had visited me exactly 7 times. Every single visit happened within 2 weeks of a money request. My hands shook as I closed the laptop. Not from anger yet, just realization. Cold, clear realization that I'd been funding their lifestyle while convincing myself I was helping my son. The drive to La Jolla took 40 minutes. I headed north on I-5, past Mission Bay, past Pacific Beach, toward the wealthy enclave where old money and new success built estates on cliffs overlooking the Pacific. My 12-year-old Honda felt out of place as the neighborhoods got progressively nicer. Richard's address led me to gates. actual iron gates with a security camera and call box. I pressed the button, heard a click. "David, finally, come on up." The gates swung open. The driveway curved through landscaped grounds, native California plants mixed with palm trees. The house rose at the end, modern architecture, all glass and clean lines, positioned to capture the ocean view. 3 levels, maybe 5,000 square feet. This wasn't just success. This was empire. I parked between a Tesla and a Mercedes. Richard met me at the door before I'd even turned off the engine. He looked good, trim and fit, wearing casual clothes that probably cost more than my car payment. But his smile was genuine, his handshake firm, and when he pulled me into a hug, I found myself relaxing for the first time all day. "You look exactly the same," he lied cheerfully. "You're still a terrible liar. Come meet everyone. Fair warning, my wife Linda is a hugger, and she's been excited to meet the man who saved my academic career." Inside, the house opened up. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Pacific Ocean, endless blue water stretching to the horizon. People filled the space, conversations flowing, wine glasses catching afternoon sun. This wasn't a Father's Day gathering. This was a community. Linda Hayes appeared, elegant in a simple dress. And yes, she hugged me immediately. "David Warner, Richard talks about you constantly. The friend who wouldn't let him quit." I just explained debits and credits. He did the rest. "You taught me that failure wasn't permanent," Richard said quietly. "That's worth more than any accounting lesson." Dinner happened around a table that seated 20. I found myself between a woman who ran a biotech startup and a man who taught architecture at UC San Diego. Real conversations emerged, not small talk, not obligations. When the startup founder asked about my career, I told her about 30 years in corporate accounting, about building financial systems, about the satisfaction of clean books and solved problems. "You must have seen everything," the architect said. 3 decades of economic ups and downs. "What kept you going?" I paused, considering. "The truth in numbers. They don't lie. They don't manipulate. A balanced sheet is honest in a way people sometimes aren't." Richard caught my eye from across the table. Something in his expression suggested he understood what I wasn't saying. After the meal, Richard led me to the terrace. The ocean stretched before us, waves catching golden light as the sun lowered. The sound of them breaking against the cliffs below was hypnotic. "Linda wants pictures," Richard said. "She documents everything. Humor her." Linda appeared with her phone. "The light's perfect. David, stand with Richard. Ocean behind you." "I'm not exactly photogenic these days." "Nonsense. You look distinguished. Get over there." Richard's arm settled around my shoulders. I stood straight, chin up, trying to remember how to smile naturally. Linda moved around us, finding angles, the ocean and sky creating a backdrop that looked like something from a magazine. "Perfect," she called. "You two look like you're celebrating something." After she walked away, Richard spoke quietly. "Thank you for coming today. I meant what I said earlier. You saw something in me I didn't see. Now look," he gestured at the house, the view, the life he'd built. "This exists because you believed I could do better. You don't owe me anything, Richard. I owe you everything. That's why when Tom mentioned your son ditched you on Father's Day, I made sure you had somewhere to be." The words hung between us. I looked out at the ocean, feeling something crack open in my chest. $58,000, I said. Over 2.5 years. Every time he needed help. Every emergency that was never really an emergency. I kept giving because I thought that's what fathers do. That's what family means. And today? Today, he told me I'm not immediate family. Richard didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, "You want to show them what they're missing? Really show them?" "What do you mean?" "Post a picture. Let them see you here, with me, living well." Sometimes the best response to disrespect is living so well they can't ignore it. By 9 that evening, I was home. The house felt different now. Not empty, quiet, but in a peaceful way. I made tea, sat in my recliner, pulled out my phone, and found the best photo Linda had taken. Richard and me, grinning like college kids, the Pacific Ocean blazing gold behind us, his estate visible in the frame. I opened Facebook, uploaded the image, and typed carefully, "Father's Day with old friends." Thanks, Richard, for reminding me what real family looks like. Some people measure relationships in years. The best ones measure them in loyalty. My finger hovered over the post button. I read the caption again, thought about Michael seeing it, about the calculations that would follow. Then I pressed it. I set my phone face down on the side table, drank my tea, watched darkness settle over the neighborhood through my front window. 20 minutes passed before curiosity won. The screen lit up with notifications. 43. In 20 minutes, 15 text messages from Michael, 6 from Jessica, 4 missed calls, 3 voicemails. The rest were Facebook comments and messages from people I hadn't heard from in months. I scrolled through Michael's texts slowly, watching the progression. "Dad, you went somewhere? Where was this taken? That house looks expensive. Who is Richard Hayes?" I Googled him. "Dad, he owns Hayes Development. He's worth like $40 million. Why didn't you tell me you had friends like this? This is important. Call me. Dad, seriously, call me back. We need to talk about this." Jessica's texts were more direct. "David, where did you spend Father's Day? That property in the background is worth millions." Michael says, "You know Richard Hayes personally? From college? This changes things. We need to discuss your social circle. These connections affect the whole family." I turned off my phone completely, went to bed, slept better than I had in months. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. 57 new notifications. I made coffee first, ate breakfast slowly, then started reading. Michael had called 9 more times overnight. The voicemails were increasingly anxious. "Dad, it's me. Look, I'm sorry about yesterday. There was a miscommunication with Jessica's parents. We definitely wanted you there. Call me. Dad, seriously, where are you? Are you okay? I'm worried. That Richard Hayes guy, is he legit? I'm just concerned about you being taken advantage of." The last one, left at 2 in the morning. "Dad, we need to talk about estate planning. If you have connections like Richard Hayes, there are things we should discuss. As a family." My phone rang. Michael. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Finally. "Dad, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you since yesterday." I can see that. 57 messages. "That place you were at, that's a serious estate. Richard Hayes owns Hayes Development. Do you know how successful he is?" "I do. I was at his house." "Why didn't you ever mention you knew people at that level?" "These are important connections, Dad." "You never asked about my friends, Michael. You only asked about money." Silence. Then, "That's not fair." "Fair? You told me I wasn't immediate family yesterday morning. This morning I'm suddenly important. What changed?" "Dad, come on. Don't be like this." "Like what, honest?" "Jessica and I care about you. We're family. We should know about your social circle, especially when it includes people of significance." Significance? Financial significance. The word hung in the air like smoke. "I need to go, Michael." "Wait. When can we get together? Coffee? Lunch? We should catch up properly. Talk about things." "What things?" "Your retirement planning. Your estate. Making sure everything's organized for the future. For everyone's benefit. I'll let you know." I ended the call before he could respond. The pattern continued. Tuesday, 8 calls. Wednesday, 12. Thursday morning, Jessica's car appeared in my driveway. I watched from the window as she knocked, waited, knocked again. I didn't answer. She left after 15 minutes, frustration visible in every movement. Friday morning, I made a decision. I opened Google, typed estate planning attorney San Diego, and started reading reviews. Margaret Chen, 20 years experience. Specialization in asset protection and family dynamics. Her testimonials mentioned protecting estates from undue influence and ensuring proper legacy planning. One review stuck with me. She helped me ensure my assets went where they were valued, not where they were expected. I called it 10, Chen Law Group. "How may I help you?" "I need a consultation regarding estate planning and will modification." "Of course." "May I ask what prompted this decision?" "I need to make sure my money doesn't fund manipulation after I'm gone." A pause. Then warmly, "I understand. We have an opening Monday at 3. Would that work? Perfect. I'll bring all relevant documents. After hanging up, I pulled out my filing cabinet. 30 years as an accountant meant immaculate records. Bank statements, investment portfolios, property deeds, insurance policies, Social Security projections. Everything organized, cross-referenced, detailed. I spread it across my dining table, looking at the numbers with professional distance now, not parental obligation. Retirement pension, $3,800 monthly. Social Security, $1,900 monthly. Investment accounts, $280,000. Home value, $450,000, paid off. Life insurance, $300,000. Total estate value, approximately $1.03 million. More than enough to matter. More than enough to make them desperate. My phone buzzed. Michael. Again. Dad, please. Can we talk? Really talk? Face to face? I typed back. Coffee Monday morning, before my appointment. His response came within seconds. Appointment for what? Is everything okay? Are you sick? I smiled, set the phone down, and let him wonder. Monday morning. I arrived at the coffee shop 15 minutes early. Same corner table strategy I'd used in business meetings for decades. Clear sight lines, back to the wall, able to see entrances and exits. Michael and Jessica arrived at 10:07. She checked her makeup in the car mirror. He adjusted his collar, preparing for performance. When they entered, Michael's smile stretched too wide. Jessica's hug lasted a beat too long. Dad, you look good. Are you eating okay? Getting enough sleep? Same as always. They settled across from me. Michael ordered some complicated drink with 4 modifications. Jessica asked for a latte with oat milk and cinnamon. I sipped my black coffee and waited. So, Michael started, too casually. That Father's Day thing, that was quite a place Richard has. It was... We felt terrible about the confusion with our plans. What confusion? You told me not to come. That was pretty clear. Jessica leaned forward, voice dripping concern. If we'd known you had other options, we would have handled things differently. You didn't ask if I had options. You assumed I had nowhere to go. There's a difference. Michael shifted tactics. This Richard Hayes. You've known him a long time? Since college. 1979. And he went into real estate development? Jessica's tone suggested this was fascinating, not transparent fishing. Started small. 1 property in Oceanside, after he retired from corporate work. Built from there. Now he has developments across Southern California. That's incredible. Michael's eyes sharpened. You must be proud of your friend. I am. He earned everything through hard work and smart decisions. Do you see him often? Jessica stirred her latte slowly. Like, is this a regular thing? Or was Father's Day special? We reconnected recently. He called when he heard I might be alone for the holiday. How did he hear that? Michael's question came quick, sharp. People who actually care about me check in. They notice when something's wrong. Silence dropped between us. Dad, that's not fair. Michael's voice carried that wounded tone he'd perfected as a teenager. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I leaned forward slightly. I've given you $58,460 over the last 2.5 years. Every emergency that wasn't an emergency. Every crisis that was actually a vacation or furniture upgrade. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Jessica's face flushed. Michael's jaw tightened. We needed help. That's what family does. They help each other. Help implies temporary support during genuine hardship. What you've been doing is called exploitation. That's harsh, Dad. Is it? Because Richard values me for who I am, not what I can give him. We spent 6 hours together on Father's Day. Not once did he ask for money. Not once did he calculate my net worth. Can you say the same? Michael stood abruptly. You're being unreasonable. We're your family. Then act like it. I remained seated, voice level. Stop measuring our relationship in dollar signs. Fine. Don't expect us to keep bringing the grandkids around if you're going to be difficult. Something settled in my chest. Final. Clear. I'll see them when they're old enough to understand manipulation and choose for themselves. Until then, they're better off not learning your values. I stood, placed exact change on the table for my coffee. Not a penny more. I have an appointment at 3. I need to prepare. What appointment? Jessica's voice rose. David, what's going on? Personal business. Enjoy your coffee. I walked out into San Diego sunshine, got in my car, and drove away without looking back. Margaret Chen's office occupied the 14th floor of a downtown building with views of San Diego Bay. I arrived 20 minutes early. Manila folder squared on my lap. At 2:55, the receptionist called my name. Mr. Warner, Miss Chen will see you now. Margaret's office balanced professionalism with warmth. Law books lined shelves. California bar certificate framed on the wall. Family photos showing her with adult children, arms around each other, genuine smiles. She stood, extended her hand. Mr. Warner, thank you for coming. Your initial call mentioned estate planning, prompted by family dynamics. Tell me more. I set the folder on her desk. I need to ensure my assets support causes and people who actually value what I've built, not fund manipulation. Walk me through what's happened. I opened the folder. Bank statements highlighted in yellow. Text message screenshots. Social media posts. Organized chronologically. Cross-referenced by date and amount. 30 years of accounting discipline applied to family exploitation. Over 2.5 years, I've given my son $58,000. Each time he claimed an emergency. Each time the money went somewhere else. Margaret pulled the documents closer, began reviewing. Her pen moved across pages, occasionally pausing. These text messages show his requests. Did you verify the stated purposes? At first, yes. He's my son. I trusted him. Then I started noticing patterns. Medical emergency became new furniture. Transmission repair became Hawaii vacation. Every request followed by weeks of silence until the next crisis. She looked up from a Facebook screenshot, and this shows a Las Vegas trip 2 weeks after requesting $6,000 for emergency dental work. He said his daughter needed braces. The orthodontist later told me they'd never heard of her. Margaret's expression remained neutral, but I saw something shift in her eyes. Recognition. She'd seen this before. Walk me through the most recent incident. I explained Father's Day, the rejection call, Richard's invitation, the photo posted, Michael and Jessica's sudden renewed interest in our relationship. And now they're asking about estate planning? They haven't asked directly yet, but Jessica mentioned connections affecting the whole family. Michael talked about making sure everything's organized for everyone's benefit. The subtext is clear. Margaret set down her pen. California law gives you full discretion over your estate. You can structure this several ways. Complete disinheritance is possible. But no, he's still my son. I won't cut him off entirely. Then we limit access. A testamentary trust. He receives benefits only after your death, with controlled distribution. No lump sum that disappears in 6 months. What about the majority of the estate? That's where charitable designations become powerful. You can allocate 70 to 75% to causes that matter to you. It's tax-deductible, meaningful, and sends a clear message about your values. I thought about this. Veterans Foundation. My father served in Korea. And arts education programs. My wife loved art museums. Excellent choices. We can structure this as 70% charitable, 30% to your son through a controlled trust. Enough to show you haven't forgotten him, but not enough to reward the behavior pattern. Can he contest this? He can try. But with your mental competency clearly established and this documented pattern of financial exploitation, it's extremely unlikely to succeed, especially with your professional background in finance. You're not a vulnerable elder being manipulated. You're a competent adult making informed decisions. How long does this take? Full estate plan, including new will, living trust, and power of attorney documents, $3,500. Everything ready for signing in 1 week. I pulled out my checkbook, wrote the amount without hesitation, tore the check along the perforated edge. When can I sign? Next Monday, December 11th. You'll need 2 witnesses who aren't beneficiaries. I'll bring Richard Hayes and his wife Linda. Perfect. She took the check, made a note. Once signed and notarized, this becomes your governing estate document. Your son won't know the details unless you choose to tell him. Oh, I'll tell him, when the time is right. We shook hands. Walking to my car, I felt lighter. Not vindictive, not angry, just clear. For 2 years, I'd operated from fear. Fear of losing my only family. Fear of dying alone. Fear that saying no would push Michael away permanently. But he'd already pushed himself away, made our relationship transactional, reduced me from father to funding source. Now I was taking control back. Not through confrontation, but through legal protection and strategic allocation. 70% would create real impact. 30% would be enough to show I still cared, while making it impossible for him to waste it quickly. The next week moved slowly. Margaret sent preliminary documents for review. I read every page carefully, made notes, sent back revisions. Richard called Wednesday. "How are you holding up?" "Better than I have in months. I'm making changes. Legal changes." "Good. That takes courage. Listen, Linda and I are hosting Christmas Eve. Small gathering, 20 people. Bring someone if you want, or come solo. Your call. I might take you up on that." Thursday morning, I was reading the final draft of my new will when my doorbell rang. Through the window, Michael's SUV in my driveway, Jessica in the passenger seat. The kids, Tyler and Emma, climbing out of the back. Tyler was 9 now, Emma 7. I hadn't seen them in 4 months. Before I could decide whether to answer, the door opened. Michael had kept his key. "Grandpa!" Emma ran through my living room, launching herself into my arms. Tyler followed more slowly, growing too old for such open displays. But his hug was real. "We missed you so much," Emma said. "Mom said we could finally visit." I held them both, looked over their heads at Michael and Jessica standing in the doorway. For 20 minutes, I forgot everything else. Tyler showed me his science project, a model of the solar system built with incredible detail. Emma insisted I see her art portfolio from school, page after page of drawings and paintings. These moments were pure. Their love was real. But Michael and Jessica remained standing, not settling in, waiting. Michael started casually. "Dad, we've been thinking. The kids need more space. We found a house in Del March. Great schools, safe neighborhood, perfect for families." I continued helping Tyler fix a loose planet on his model. "Sounds like you've made a decision." "Almost. Just need to finalize the down payment. On a $700,000 house, banks want 20%. That's $140,000. My hands stopped moving. Emma looked up at me, confused by the sudden tension. "That's a significant amount, Michael. But worth it for the grandkids' future, right?" Jessica's voice carried that familiar sweetness. "Del Mar has the top-ranked schools in the county. Tyler would have access to advanced programs. Emma could walk to school. Your current house has 3 bedrooms and a yard. It's adequate." "Adequate isn't good enough for our children, Dad. Don't you want your grandchildren in a good neighborhood with good schools?" Tyler looked between us, his smile fading. Emma clutched her art portfolio protectively. "This isn't an emergency, Michael. This is a lifestyle upgrade. We're family. Families help each other achieve their dreams. No, you're using my grandchildren to manipulate me. There's a difference." Jessica swept both kids toward the door, her face tight with fury. "Come on, kids. Grandpa needs time to think about what's important. I know exactly what's important, and I know what isn't." Michael stepped close, voice dropping to something that felt like a threat. "Don't expect us to keep bringing them around if you're going to reject your own family." "You mean don't expect you to use them as leverage?" "Understood." Emma twisted in Jessica's arms, reaching for me. "Grandpa, why are we leaving?" I couldn't answer. Watched them rush to the car. Tyler left his solar system model on my coffee table. Emma dropped her art folder on the walkway. I picked it up, walked to the car before they pulled away. Handed it through the window to her. Our eyes met. She didn't understand. How could she? They drove away. I stood in my driveway watching until the SUV disappeared. Inside, Tyler's model sat on my coffee table, one planet still slightly loose. I fixed it carefully, set the whole thing by my door. Maybe I'd find a way to return it, maybe not. Monday, December 11th. Richard and Linda arrived at Margaret's office at 2:45. The conference room overlooked the bay, winter sun slanting through windows. Margaret spread the documents before me. New will, living trust, power of attorney, healthcare directive. Everything organized in neat stacks. Mr. Warner, do you understand that this will supersedes all previous testamentary documents? I understand completely. And you're making these decisions of your own free will, without coercion or undue influence? This is the first truly free decision I've made regarding my estate in years. She walked me through each section. The charitable designations, 70% split between two organizations. The testamentary trust for Michael, 30%, controlled distribution, no lump sum access until age 50. I signed each page deliberately, each signature an act of reclamation. The notary stamped each document. Final, binding, protected. Richard clasped my shoulder afterward. Proud of you, brother. That evening, I called Michael. Kept my voice steady, neutral. We need to talk. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, my house. What's this about, Dad? Estate planning. Decisions you need to know about. Your estate? Dad, what are you? Tomorrow, face to face. This isn't a phone conversation. Silence. Then, okay, we'll be there. Tuesday morning, I arranged my living room deliberately. 2 chairs facing mine. Distance established. 1 manila folder on the coffee table. They arrived at 10 sharp. Unusual punctuality suggesting anxiety. Sit. I slid the folder across the table. I've made changes to my will. Read it. Michael opened it slowly. I watched comprehension dawn. His hands trembled slightly, turning pages. Dad, you can't be serious. 70% to charity? The remaining 30% is designated for you through a controlled trust. You'll receive distributions starting at age 50. No early access, no loans, no exceptions. Jessica's face darkened. This is ridiculous. We're your family. Exactly. You're my family. Yet for 2.5 years, you've treated me like an ATM. $58,000 in fake emergencies. I have the receipts. Every lie. Every manipulation. We needed help, Dad. Help? You needed help buying a 70-inch TV? Taking trips to Vegas and Hawaii? That's not help. That's theft disguised as family obligation. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. Finally. Richard reminded me what real relationships look like. They're built on respect, not transactions. Michael stood abruptly. Your rich friend has been filling your head with ideas. Richard values me for who I am. Can you say the same? Silence. Heavy. Damning. Fine. Michael's voice turned cold. Don't expect to see your grandkids again. Ever. I'll see them when they're old enough to understand manipulation and choose for themselves. Until then, they're safer not learning your values. You'll regret this. The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. Live your lives. Build your marriage on something other than my wallet. Or don't. That's your choice. They left the folder on my coffee table, too angry to take it. The door slammed. I didn't move. Listened to their car start. Drive away. Watched through the window as the street returned to quiet. I picked up the folder, filed it carefully in my desk drawer. Done. The weeks that followed were quiet. Michael tried calling twice. Left voicemails I deleted without listening. Christmas came and went. I spent it at Richard's house. 20 people I'd only just met who treated me with more genuine warmth than my son had in 2 years. January brought something unexpected. An email from Michael, subject line, I'm sorry. I almost deleted it. Almost. But curiosity won. Dad, I've spent the last month thinking about everything you said. You were right. I let Jessica convince me that you owed us. That family meant automatic access to your money. I forgot you were my father, not my funding source. I'm sorry. No conditions. Just sorry. If you're willing, I'd like to try rebuilding our relationship without money between us. I understand if you're not ready. I'll wait. Your son, Michael. I read it 3 times. Then picked up my phone. Dad, you got my email. I did. I didn't know if you'd respond. I almost didn't, but you took responsibility. That's new. I've had time to think. Time to realize what I was doing. What we were doing. I'm willing to try rebuilding, but on new terms. Respect, not obligation. Relationship, not transaction. Yes, whatever it takes. I want my father back. Not your money. My father. Then let's start there. Small steps. Coffee next week. I'd like that. Thank you for giving me another chance. After we hung up, I sat with his email for a long moment. Hope and caution balanced carefully. He'd have to prove the change was real. But I was willing to let him try. February brought something else entirely. Richard called on a Tuesday. David, you remember I mentioned volunteering. San Diego Museum of Art needs help with their Veterans Appreciation Program. Docent work, event planning. Interested? I don't know anything about art. Neither did I. They'll train you. Plus, it's good people. Meaningful work. The following Monday, I walked into the San Diego Museum of Art's volunteer orientation. 12 people, ranging in age from 25 to 70. The coordinator, a woman named Catherine Miller, greeted each of us individually. When she got to me, her handshake was firm, her smile genuine. Welcome. What brings you to museum volunteering? A friend suggested I need more purpose in my retirement. Smart friend. We need people who can connect with veterans, build bridges between art and military experience. Think you can do that? I can try. My father served in Korea. Perfect. Stay after orientation. I'll show you what we're building. Catherine was 61, I learned over the following weeks. Widowed 3 years ago. No children. She'd spent 30 years as a nonprofit director before retiring to focus on volunteer work that mattered to her. We developed an easy rhythm, planning events, greeting visitors, learning about the collection together. She had a way of explaining art that made it accessible. Not pretentious, not academic, just human. After a month, we started having coffee after our volunteer shifts. Not dates, just conversations. About art, about loss. About the strange territory of rebuilding life after 60. One afternoon in March, sitting in the museum cafe, she asked gently, "Your son, the one you mentioned, how's that going?" Slowly, he apologized. "We're trying. It's different now." Different how? Honest. We had coffee last week. He didn't ask for anything. Just wanted to hear about my life. First time that's happened in 3 years. That takes courage. From both of you. I'm learning that protecting yourself doesn't mean you can't forgive. It just means you forgive with boundaries. She smiled. You're learning what took me years to figure out. Not everyone gets there. I had good teachers. Friends who showed me what real relationships look like. Her hand found mine across the table. Brief contact, but it settled something. April brought another change. The San Diego Humane Society was hosting an adoption event at the museum. Catherine convinced me to walk through. That's where I met Max. 10-year-old rescue dog, black lab mix, graying around the muzzle, calm eyes that suggested he'd seen hard times. He's been here 8 months, the adoption counselor said. People want puppies. They don't want old dogs who've been abandoned. I crouched down slowly. Max watched me, uncertain. Hey there, old man. I know how it feels when people give up on you. Catherine's voice came softly behind me. I think you two understand each other. I took Max home that afternoon. He settled into my house like he'd always belonged there. Richard called that evening. Heard you adopted a senior dog. That's exactly the kind of move Sarah would have loved. Yeah, I think she would have. Summer barbecue at my place, July 4th. Big gathering. Bring Catherine. Linda wants to meet her. How did you know about Catherine? David, you've mentioned her 17 times in the last month. I'm observant. July 4th arrived warm and clear. I drove to La Jolla with Catherine beside me, Max in the back seat. She'd been nervous about meeting Richard and Linda, worried about wealthy people judging her nonprofit background. But Linda hugged her immediately. Richard treated her like old friends. By the time dinner ended, Catherine was laughing at Richard's college stories, contributing her own, fitting naturally into the group. Later, standing on the terrace, watching fireworks over the ocean, Catherine's shoulder touched mine. Max lay at our feet, content. I spent 2 years thinking my life was over after John died, she said quietly. That I'd just exist until I didn't. But this, she gestured, at the gathering, the friends, the moment, this is living again. I know exactly what you mean. For what it's worth, I'm glad Michael excluded you on Father's Day. If he hadn't, you wouldn't have reconnected with Richard. And if you hadn't reconnected with Richard, you wouldn't have started volunteering. And if you hadn't started volunteering, you wouldn't have met me. I looked at her, silver hair catching firework light, warm eyes meeting mine without calculation or agenda. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best changes. Sometimes they do. August brought a letter. Physical mail, Michael's handwriting on the envelope. I opened it at my kitchen table, coffee growing cold beside me. Dad, I know I don't deserve another chance after another chance, but Tyler starts 4th grade next month. Emma's in 2nd. They ask about you constantly, not because we told them to, because they miss their grandpa. If you're willing, we'd like to come by. Bring the kids. No agenda, no requests, just family time. Your choice. Michael, I called Catherine. Michael wants to bring the kids by. I don't know if I'm ready. What does your gut say? That I've been building walls. They were necessary. But maybe it's time to build a door too. Then build the door, but keep the walls. Let people earn their way in. The following Saturday, Michael's car pulled into my driveway at 2 in the afternoon. Tyler and Emma burst out, running to my front door. I opened it before they could knock. Grandpa. Emma crashed into my legs. Tyler, too dignified now for such displays, still hugged me tight. Is this Max? Emma's eyes widened at the dog. Mom said you adopted a dog. For 3 hours, we played in the backyard. I showed Tyler how to throw a baseball properly. Emma drew pictures of Max, page after page. Michael and Jessica stayed mostly quiet, letting the kids lead. Before they left, Michael pulled me aside. Thank you for giving us another chance. This is the first of many small steps. We'll see how it goes. I know I have to earn your trust back. I'm willing to do the work. Good, because that's what it'll take. That evening, after they'd gone, I sat on my back porch with Catherine. Max lay between us, head on my foot. The San Diego sunset painted the sky orange and purple. You did good today, Catherine said. I let them in, but on my terms. That's growth. That's wisdom. I spent months thinking I was getting revenge, planning how to show them what they'd lost. But revenge isn't what this was about. What was it about? Remembering my worth. Remembering that love without respect isn't love. It's obligation. And I don't do obligation anymore. She squeezed my hand. Real family doesn't have a price tag. No, it doesn't. The right people show up with attention, not requests. With presence, not calculations. Darkness settled over the neighborhood. City lights appeared one by one. Max's breathing was steady, content. Catherine's shoulder touched mine. This wasn't the ending I'd imagined when Michael excluded me from Father's Day. But it was better than anything I could have planned. Not revenge, not triumph, just peace. And the knowledge that I'd finally learned the difference between being used and being valued. The right people pay with attention, and I'd found my people at last. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to Feathered Vengeance, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you experienced something similar? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your story. To watch the next story, click the box on the left. Thanks for watching.